Hey there everyone, welcome to Violet's Dream Tarot. So I wanted to do a reading today about what you can expect from October. So kind of general predictions reading. We're not focusing on any particular area of your life. We are just looking at what's coming in. We're open to any messages that want to come through. There is no pile to choose for this reading. This is just a reading that if it has found you on YouTube, then this is a message for you. You might not resonate with everything perhaps, but there will be a message for you here today. I want to give a little bit of an update on my life as well before we start the reading, because I know that some of you have been worried about me and some of you have actually gotten in touch to express that you've been worried, to ask if everything's okay, because I haven't posted for about a month, maybe a month and a half on YouTube. So I'm sorry to those of you that have been worried. Thank you to those of you that did reach out and express your concerns. Those of you on Patreon will know that I moved to a new city at the start of September and I started a new job. So I actually finished my master's degree in July, in the summer. I can't remember when I exactly finished it completely, it's all a bit of a blur, but I did get the highest possible mark for that, so I'm really happy with that. I got the highest mark for my dissertation as well that I could have got, so I'm really happy with that. And then I went on holiday because I needed a bit of a break because it was a really intense time of working. There was a lot of pressure that I put on myself to perform, and then I've finished that and I've now moved to a new city. So I've also started a new job. It's a very high-powered job, it's long hours, and I really want to continue doing tarot alongside it because it's never been a full-time role for me, but it's something that I've always tried to fit in with what was already a pretty packed schedule, but now that schedule is even more constrained. So while I'm still active on Patreon and my private readings and healing sessions on Etsy are as busy as ever, I've really struggled with how to fit YouTube into that. And I don't know if many of you know this, but it takes probably a good half day for me to film a reading and edit it and get it uploaded to YouTube. It's definitely about like 6 hours in total, sometimes longer if there's a lot of editing that needs to be done. So it's really a big chunk of time because I don't do short videos, as I'm sure you know. And I think I've also been worried about maintaining a certain standard of filming because I take pride in what I do. I want you all to feel happy with whatever I put out there, and so I've put it off for longer because I was aware that I didn't have time to do the usual kind of video that I do that would take me so long to film. But I've decided I just want to put things out there when I have the opportunity to do so. So I actually was thinking of you guys recently because I bought some new cards just the other day, and that was the deck that I wanted to use today. So I want to introduce you to the lovely, I think it's Mystical Medleys. Yeah, I can't see the box, but the Mystical Medleys deck is I think what it's called, and they're based on old-fashioned cartoons like Betty Boop, Popeye, old-fashioned Disney, old-fashioned Looney Tunes. Really cute. And I just wanted to introduce you to this deck because I'd never heard of it before, and so when I bought it I was super excited to use it, and I want to use that as the tarot reading, the base for the tarot reading today. So I will obviously be using oracle cards, my charms, my dice, etc. But I wanted to use these for you guys today. So that's an update on my life. People on Patreon will know this already, but I kept forgetting to put this up on YouTube because I felt like I needed to have something to come back with that was significant. But like I said, the longer I put it off, the more I realized I needed to just figure out what I was going to be doing, and I wanted to make this video today. So I hope you guys enjoy this. We're going to see what's coming up for you in October. Like I said, if you found this video, if this video has reached you somehow on YouTube, then there is a message for you here today. And I'm so excited to show you these lovely new cards. So what is coming up for you in October? What can you expect? Okay, so my lovely people, whether you've been with me from the start or whether you're completely new today, you have got the High Priestess as your first card from this gorgeous deck. Then you have the Four of Wands, followed by the Four of Cups, so you've got 2 fours there. Ace of Pentacles, that's a lovely card. And Sad Squirrel, which I should have mentioned actually when I was introducing the deck, but they have these 2 exclusive cards called Sad Squirrel and Happy Squirrel, and they really remind me of Sandy from SpongeBob. Just in general, I feel like this deck, I can't always put my finger on what each card reminds me of cartoon-wise, but I think each card reminds me of some specific cartoon. They're all different. So let's just go into your reading. So Ace of Pentacles, Four of Wands, these are both really, really positive cards with regards to October. It feels like there is a firm foundation there. You've been working hard. There's new opportunities. Obviously, October is a big month for recruitment. It's also a big month for anyone who is in education, because it's often when universities, schools open. They've either opened in September or they tend to open in October. So there's a fresh start there, new courses maybe, new experiences, new training, new jobs or applying for new jobs, new opportunities for jobs. All of this is sort of coming towards me from your reading so far, but I also get this feeling of like there's these opportunities or there's this new beginning, but you're struggling a little bit with motivations. So the High Priestess, Four of Cups, Sad Squirrel are all sort of pointing towards this for me. Purely because the High Priestess is such a spiritual card, and it's one that points towards time spent by ourselves and time spent in deep reflection. That is also sort of showing up in the Four of Cups with the way it's drawn here. You know, the person, he doesn't want to accept someone else's kind invitation, or he doesn't want to accept their input in his life. Like the High Priestess is never a bad thing, but I feel like with regards to new opportunities, you're sort of thinking, have I got the energy for this? You know, maybe you've been spending a lot of time alone and you're wondering how you're going to adapt to suddenly being in a new job and meeting new people and getting used to these new skills, or starting a new course and it's all completely new, or just back to school, even if it's not a new thing, back to the workplace after you've been on holiday maybe. It's just like, how am I going to adjust to this? Or I just don't feel like I've got the enthusiasm or the energy to deal with all of these people or all of these demands. So there is definitely a feeling of like, I just want to be by myself, or I just want to get on with my tasks without having anyone else's input or without having to do teamwork and things. And so Sad Squirrel is basically pointing towards this attitude of not wanting to share, not wanting to open up. So it's asking you, why is that the case? It feels like there's a defensive mindset or a pessimistic mindset going into October, even though you have these opportunities. So I'm really interested to look at your Oracle cards. Let's get started with that now. We'll start with some water elemental cards, because it does feel like there's an emotional aspect to this. So reflections, what you contemplate can actualize, number 16. And that's really important, because I did pick up on this sense of I just want to be alone with my thoughts. So there is a real issue of like, I don't want to tell people what I'm thinking, or I don't want to have to deal with people day in, day out. I don't have the enthusiasm for that. The present, number 12, gift, treasure, revelation of own value, nowness. So the gift, this could be very much the Ace of Pentacles. That usually points towards us doing well in life, maybe getting a windfall, a bonus of some kind, sometimes promotions, improved health as well. But I also feel like the present is pointing towards living in the now, living in the present moment. You just want to sort of enjoy this time and your own headspace, and you feel stressed or bothered by other people's demands on your time, because you feel like that takes away from your current experience. You know, maybe you're being asked to work outside of your normal contracted hours, or maybe you just feel like people in the workplace or at school perhaps are just trying to socialize with me more than I want. And it doesn't mean that you're necessarily an unsociable person, but it's just like, I'm just not in the mood for that right now. You know, that's the feeling I'm picking up on. You just want to be alone with your thoughts. You want to be spending time with your loved ones or the people to whom you're already very close. It's like you don't want to allow in new people right now. You almost see their demands for your attention as like a burden or a drain on your time, or a drain on the emotional resources that you have to give in general, because it feels like the more you give at work or at school or outside of the home, the less you have to offer when you come home, because then you've just talked to so many people that you don't want to speak to your own loved ones, you know, and you're just like, oh, I get in from work and I'm just thinking, don't speak to me, just let me lie down by myself and do my own things. So interesting message opening out your reading, you guys. Misalignment, number 17. Miracles become normal once we face all of the aspects of our life in the same direction. So it's a little bit like this, you know, I'm just getting this feeling, again, she's very alone in this imagery, and it's like she just needs to breathe. She needs that headspace for herself. I just get this feeling of whatever is needed of you right now, or whatever other people are expecting or asking of you right now, is not what you personally want to give. You're not in the headspace for whatever is going on around you. So maybe you have got these opportunities to apply for new jobs, for example, and maybe you're not fulfilled in your current job, maybe you're not loving your current job, and so this would normally be a great thing for you, that you've got these new opportunities, but you just can't summon the energy and the motivation and the enthusiasm to apply for these new jobs. And then you've got the fear and doubt in your mind of thinking like, well, am I going to be trapped in this environment if I don't take this opportunity now, but I can't rouse myself to do it? You know, it's like a vicious cycle almost that I'm picking up on. It's like you're just asking for space. You're like, I just need more time, or I need just some time to step back and breathe, but I'm not getting that space to do so because there's always these demands on my time or energy. There's always things that need doing. But what I need is that quiet space so that I can think, and so that I can build up the enthusiasm for this. Angel of Balance in the reverse, number 48. So that fits well with the misalignment message. I feel like you need to evaluate your life in October, because there are opportunities for you to change, for you to make these career moves, or for you to maybe pick options education-wise that will then have a big influence on your life moving forward. Or maybe you've got important submissions that need to be in by a certain date, but you just can't summon the enthusiasm to get them worked on, and then you're more and more worried about what effect that will have on your future. Indecision, absolutely, number 8, my goodness. Followed by storm warning, number 10. Okay, so I think that's to do with this fear of like, if I don't make a decision now, am I going to regret it forever? If I don't seize this opportunity now, am I always going to look back and think, you know, I should have done that? But I think there's also like a fear of change that comes with this. Storm warning, you know, it's bringing turbulence, it's bringing change, it's warning that that's on the horizon. And there's this feeling of like, no, I want to cling to whatever I've got. You see the mermaid here, she's holding on to the treasure chest. She's holding on to it quite tightly. It's like, no, I don't want that change. But then subconsciously, you guys, I think you also do. It's a bit of a confused space that you're in right now, the indecision. You know that really you need to do something, or accept something, or make a choice, or work hard on something, but you just don't seem to be in the right headspace for that. So I think one of the biggest takeaways from this reading is going to be to ask yourself, how can I get into that mindset? How can I shift my focus and my energy into throwing it all behind what I actually need to be doing or want to be doing, not just in the short term, because obviously right now you don't want to do that, and that's the problem, but thinking about your long-term future and your long-term sort of personal benefit In love, we've got the message of relationship patterns. Number 32, it takes strength to recognize the need for change. So that is also feeding into this message. Maybe for some of you this isn't work related or education related at all, and it's to do with a relationship where you just feel like it's too demanding or draining, or whatever you want it to be is not what it's showing up as in your life. I do think though for a lot of you it is sort of goals related or career related because of the Pentacles message. The Ace of Pentacles and also the Four of Wands is about milestones and celebrations. But maybe some of you are dealing with a relationship that's like this, or this whole situation is also showing up in your love life. So cycles that are being repeated that you can't seem to get out of, this vicious cycle, or being misaligned with your partners or whoever you're dating, just don't seem to match up to what you need, knowing that there's this change that needs to happen, but not necessarily being motivated to change or feeling strong enough to do so, you know. I said earlier that this is a good time to evaluate what you want, but I feel like fundamentally you sort of know what you want. You recognize what needs to be done, but it's more of like a motivation thing and also a fear thing. Like this is stemming mainly from fear, I think, because you know that change is scary and change means that things aren't going to stay the same, and there's an accountability and a responsibility for that that's almost paralyzing you. And if it's to do with needing to work on something, like deadline wise or decisions wise, again, it's like you know that this is important and therefore it's frightening, and that fear is paralyzing you, even though you know that what you most need to do is be active. So it is that vicious cycle message, you guys. This card from the Lover's Oracle. Playfulness, laughter is the best therapy, have some fun together, and remember that love is the greatest healer. So this applies to your romantic relationships. Have fun with your loved ones if you do feel like you do not have time for them because you're coming home from work or school tired and drained socially and you just don't have anything left to offer them when you come home. Try and make time to have fun. Maybe say to yourself, okay, I'm going to come in from work, have a shower to loosen myself up and sort of wash off the day, and then I'm going to have an hour to myself doing what I need to do, whether it's having a short nap or whether it's doing something just in my room or whether it's just literally lying down and having time where I'm not doing anything and not speaking to anyone and no one needs anything from me. And then after that time is up, I'm going to go and have some fun with my loved ones. I'm going to curl up and watch a movie with them and joke around with them, or I'm going to play a board game with them, or I'm going to play video games with them, or I'm going to give my mother a call, you know, something like that, where you're saying to yourself, I'm going to make the time for myself and I'm going to show up for my loved ones as well because they're what matter. But I think you can also apply this to your life more generally, because I feel as though the demands on your time and the demands on your energy in October are making you feel tired, lacking enthusiasm. Everything seems quite serious because you're just constantly thinking about what needs to be done. So making sure that you make that time for fun is really, really important. If it's possible, also having stricter boundaries about when you're at work and when you're not working, you know. If your work allows it, like not checking your emails on the weekend or not taking work calls after hours, because that's really important. When you get out of balance, when the lines between work and home life are blurred, especially for those of you who work from home, because then there's no clear physical boundary between work and private life. That's when you get burnt out. That's when you lose your enthusiasm for your job. That's when you feel sunken into confusion because there's no clear boundaries, on off times. You know, setting those boundaries is really important. Deep knowing, number 43. That's a lovely card. Like I said, I do think fundamentally you're aware of what needs to be done. But it's just about acknowledging that on the sort of conscious level. Maybe you're aware of what needs to be done only subconsciously, or maybe it's like you know what you don't want to do, but you haven't quite worked out what you do want to do. It's something along those lines, you guys. It's like you've got some knowledge, but you need to make it even clearer. You need to work out what decision you need to make. You know, maybe you just have a general idea of what you want to do or what your outcome should look like in an ideal world, but you've not fully clarified that with yourself. And this could be a manifesting thing where you need to have a clearer vision, stronger emotional associations with what it is that you want. Or it could just be a general thing where you've got a multitude of opportunities, or you need to make a decision at this sort of crossroads point, and you know roughly what you don't want or roughly what you do want, but it's like there's multiple things that present as that. So I need to do my research and really look into each opportunity to decide which is the right one for me. You know, pros and cons lists. Why do I not want this? Why do I want this? Poking around in your motivations a little bit. And I think for those of you that need to do that, you're putting it off because it's time consuming. You know, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of your conscious focus, and it's one of those nebulous tasks that we can put off for another day, another week, another month, another year, you know, but ultimately it's a really, really important thing that can help propel you forwards, helping you to make the right decisions for yourself in the long term. From the Inner Child cards, you've got the Six of Wands. Really, really lovely card. Again, this is pointing towards moving forwards in your career or in your life in general, like moving forwards status-wise, moving forwards in your own understanding of what progress and success looks like. So for those of you whose life is really sort of dominated by relationships at the moment, maybe you feel like I've gotten to this age and I wouldn't really say I've got a best friend, and that's getting me down. But I don't have the urge to go out and get myself in front of new people and, you know, audition these new friends, so to speak. Could be that you feel like I want to move forward in my life status-wise by being married or having children, but again, it's a huge decision and it's frightening to think about that, even if I've got the right circumstances to move forward with it. See, it doesn't necessarily have to be work-related. Ship, the 9th house, number 3. And ring, number 25, Taurus. So there's that message about commitment. You know, it could literally be getting married or engaged, as we've mentioned. Like, that is interesting status-wise to you because you want to move forward with your life in milestones, but it's also frightening because it's a huge commitment and that's scary, and you don't want to say yes and then regret it, or say no and then regret it. You know, this sort of paralyzing fear of what do I do? How do I move forward in my relationship? Do I want to? You know, maybe even some of you are thinking this is the right person but at the wrong time because I want to move forward with my career, and that could entail moving away and they wouldn't want to come with me. Or maybe you're thinking it's the right person but I wish I'd had more relationships before them so I could feel ready to settle down. You know, there's all these feelings going around where you're like, I just don't want to regret what I do. So really big decisions in October, you guys. The 9th house represents long distance travel, and it represents your worldview, your beliefs. It also represents higher education more generally. So it is really about where you're headed, you know. Obviously the ship card really represents travel, but I don't think it's just about this for you guys. Maybe some of you are figuring out whether you should move away for work. Maybe you've got an opportunity that's come up and you're struggling to decide whether that's right for you or not. Maybe you're wondering whether to move away to study, and, you know, you're weighing up the pros and cons of that really big decision. But I think in general, for most of you, it's more about worldview. What direction do I want to move in generally? What do I want to do career-wise? Because it's not that the job itself is fundamentally bad, I don't think. It's more like, for those of you that are struggling with work, you just don't feel it, you know, principles wise, it's not gelling with you. Maybe you don't get on with colleagues, but I feel like it's deeper than that. You know, there might be aspects of the company culture that you're not enjoying, or aspects of the job that you're not enjoying, but ultimately it's a deeper lack of fulfillment that's causing you to feel this confusion and this uncertainty with regards to your future. And I think that's the same for those of you that are studying as well. It's like, I could do this, this, and this, and they might all be interesting, but what really do I want to commit myself to, you know? That's what these two cards here are asking you. Justice, charity, and lavishness. Lamed number 1, the 34th card in the deck. It's interesting again, justice, charity, and lavishness, because charity and justice and morality are all strongly connected to the 9th house. Just like I was talking about with our worldview, how we see the world. Also, lavishness makes me think of lifestyle. Wanting to earn a certain amount or work in a job that provides you with a certain lifestyle. It's like there's these big questions that you're asking yourself of, how do I get into something that aligns with my worldview but also gives me the right sort of lifestyle? You know, really, really big questions. And this can come through in relationship situations as well. Maybe the partner that you're with currently is perfect except for their political views, for example, or their religious views, or maybe they are perfect for you, but you feel like they don't have the right attitude to work, and you're worried about what that means in the future for your financial stability and for any children you might have. Like, it's like these situations where on paper it should be fine, but there's just this underlying unfulfillment, or this feeling of like, but there could be more. What if I regret this? How do I make myself get enthusiastic about doing what I need to do when it's big and frightening and scary and involves change and responsibility? Really, really interesting reading, you guys. Schurke, number 48, villain. And then Selbstliebe, number 1, self-love. It's like, wow. Like, if I do what's right for me, I might end up feeling like a bad person. You know, especially in relationships where you're feeling like, if I take that job, that means I'm going to have to move away. That puts the decision for the future of the relationship on my partner. That feels unkind. You know, it's a lot to ask of them to move away with me or to decide to break up with me otherwise. Maybe it's like what I mentioned about feeling incompatible but they're fine otherwise, or wishing you'd had more partners before them but otherwise they're great. You know, worrying about marriage and commitment more generally, but the partner has done nothing wrong. It's like these sorts of feelings can also apply to the workplace education situations. You know, maybe your parents want you to study a certain thing, you want to do something else. It's a big, big decision. Maybe you are working somewhere and you don't enjoy it, but you get on with your work colleagues and you worry about letting them down by moving somewhere else. You worry that you're going to miss them. You know, all of these sorts of things. It's a really, really complicated time for you guys. But ultimately, although you're carrying around a lot of very complicated energy, and that's, this card has just jumped out of the deck, 8 of Gabriel, 8 of Wands, a great deal of activity, sudden and immediate results, important communication, so like a really hectic time. I do feel that ultimately what you need to do, or the answer you're looking for, is actually quite simple, because it boils down to your core beliefs and what you ultimately enjoy, what you ultimately have always wanted in life, you know? So your advice in October is, the Emperor, stability and efficiency, taking charge of a situation, ambitious plans, Aries. So again, I could anticipate this at the very start of the reading, but your advice is to seize the bull by the horns. Get doing things. Your base card is Leap of Faith, which is the Fool, Archangel Metatron. Believe in yourself, listen to your heart, do what gives you joy. So it's complicated because it's like, how do I get enthusiasm for it? But the advice is to take charge of it and to get that enthusiasm. I think really once you've made that clear decision in your mind of this is what I'm going to do, and you start forcing yourself to tackle this situation head on, then you'll get more enthusiastic about it because it will feel more real. It will feel more manageable once you've taken a look at it. And more possibilities will start coming to you, and that will be both interesting and exciting. So that's what I feel the Emperor message is getting at. But it's really important for you in October to not let opportunities pass you by and not let time run away with you. So really take charge of the situation, and don't be afraid to have ambition and to have dreams and to look into putting them into action. Let's get your charms and dice to finish up your reading. This has been a really, really interesting, extremely specific reading. A lot of you going through a lot of turmoil mentally and emotionally, but ultimately for your greater good. Fearless, that's an excellent charm. Don't be afraid to make changes, to really look at the situation without flinching from it or trying to hide away from it. We have the Hanged Man, which is exactly what I was getting at when I said you needed that break, that time to yourself to think, that space to really think about things. Maybe some of you who've been working non-stop, if it's possible, should look into trying to take some annual leave so that you can not only rest and sort of replenish your energy, but have that space to think without feeling like there's a million and one other pressing things going on right now. So if that's relevant to your situation, you might want to look into that. You've got the Gear. The Gear is anything that's happening right now. So it's landing on the Reflections card. You're already thinking about things. You're already going into yourself in that introspective way, trying to evaluate your situation. Like I said, I think some of you are already doing that or already aware of what ultimately needs to be done. And it's also landing on the relationship patterns message. So things that are seeming to go in cycles, getting into situations that feel like deja vu, you know, and it's like, how do I stop doing this? Or how do I change this or make sure this doesn't happen again? Seeing things from the bigger picture, the Giraffe, that's a lovely, lovely charm. Competing motivations, the Five of Wands charm with the tennis rackets, people wanting different things. You know, people wanting things from you that you don't feel like you can provide, people getting in your way, people annoying you, lots of competing motivations, maybe even aggression or argumentative people in your life, the worry thread, this fear of like, you know, if I do what I want, then I might end up feeling like the bad guy. You have the Elephant. This lovely message of crossing each bridge when you come to it, moving obstacles out of your way, moving forward. Dory as well, just keep swimming. That's really, really lovely. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other, essentially, and trying to take small steps towards whatever needs to be done, and realizing through doing so that it's more manageable than you thought, or that actually doing that little bit wasn't so bad. Maybe I can do some more. I think that's how you're ultimately going to tackle it. You have the Snake. Zodiac marker for people born in the year of the snake in the lunar calendar. It's also symbolic of people that you didn't think would help you, or people that you didn't think liked you, or people that you thought held a negative opinion of you, turning out to be your friend, or to be more understanding than you expected, or to help you out in some way. So maybe if you're worried about upsetting your parents or your colleagues, for example, maybe they're reaction is not going to be as bad as you think it is. Just something to bear in mind. You've also got the letter P, which is quite funny because it's landing on the playfulness card, so it could literally just be about play and playfulness. But maybe there's also another word or a name, perhaps, that comes to you when you hear the letter P that is somehow relevant to your situation. Maybe that's even helpful for you in making up your mind about something for some of you. So let's do your dice. Okay, we're going to roll the 8th set of dice, the Adventure Time dice. It's weird, actually, I was looking at the P while I was rolling the dice, and I just heard a channeled message, the P is silent. So I don't know what exactly that means. Maybe that will be like even more confirmation for some of you. Trying to think of things with a silent P. Psychology, maybe. Some of you want to study psychology. Psychic, obviously. What else has a silent P? Probably lots of things that will come to me when I've stopped filming and I'll be like, oh, I could have said that. But for some of you, the P is silent and that has meaning, okay? That's an important message for someone. So let's roll your dice. We'll see how many we're going to roll for you. 9. Wow, all 9. Okay. Okay. Okay, so what have we got? Okay, hiding. First of all, hiding, that makes a lot of sense. Not wanting to face something, putting something off forever, just not being in the right mood for things. Then you've got the potion with what looks like a fire elemental inside. And it's interesting because the fire elementals point towards passion, motivation, inspiration, that spark of enthusiasm that we have, literally the energy that drives us forwards, you know, that thing that is our impulse, our impetus, our urges. And it's like, that's what's lacking here. You just haven't got that spark. So maybe trying to work more with the fire elementals, or trying to consciously work more on your motivations and your energy levels and your enthusiasm will also really help you. We have Desert of Doom, this space where you just feel like everything's hopeless, you're a bit lost. I don't feel like it's that there are no opportunities, because I do think there are opportunities. I think that's part of the problem for you guys. It's a bit of a 7 of Cups situation where you've got all these opportunities but you don't feel ready to look at any of them. So I don't think it's that. I feel like you're just worried about how to progress, how to proceed forwards with things, what's the best path to take through the Desert of Doom. You know, how could I get to the other side safely? Because it feels like this place that I'm in right now is scary and I've got to navigate it by myself, because no one can make these decisions for me at the end of the day. Then for the rest of your dice, you've got a lot of characters. So BMO, first of all, BMO is a helper. BMO also knows how to have fun, so that's feeding in with this, I think. Play, she's literally like a Game Boy, like a video game console, but she's sentient and she is definitely a helper. So she helps the main characters and she gives them advice and she comforts them and plays with them as well when they need that more light-hearted influence in their life. And then you've got Jake, best friend energy, someone who can help us out of tricky situations. Jake is known to be able to change his size, which comes in handy when the heroes need to get away from somewhere, or they need to maybe get in somewhere that's really small. So it's kind of like that adaptable, cunning energy where you're trying to be entrepreneurial, where you're trying to adapt yourself best to the situation. But also, like I said, best friend energy. So there's another sort of supportive person in your life. Then that brings us on to Peppermint Butler. He is, I'm aware this is probably going to not make any sense to a lot of you who've never watched Adventure Time. I'm trying to make it relatable to anyone. Peppermint Butler is the butler of Princess Bubblegum, who is the ruler of the Candy Kingdom. And Peppermint Butler is known for being a stickler for rules and also a supportive character, a helper, someone who sort of deals with a lot of the mundane stuff. So it's like someone can help you maybe if you've got job applications to do, or if you've got to fill out forms, or if you've got to do some mundane, rigorous, repetitive things. There's a person in your life who can help you with that, either by giving you emotional support when you're burnt out from it, or physically helping you go through the forms and fill them out, or helping you type up the job application so you can do it in double quick time because there's 2 of you. That's the sort of feeling I get. And then you've got the Lich. The Lich represents a sort of huge enemy for the heroes. He represents fear. He represents also kind of being paralyzed. in the face of fear. Trying to think of anything else that's coming to me with that. I'm sort of trying to read these quite intuitively, because I'm aware a lot of you won't have seen the cartoon series, although it's interesting that we've got 2 cartoon references in this reading today. Yeah, I think it's just like your big fears, your demons, really facing up to that big boss feeling, you know, in a video game where it's like, this is the big thing that I've got to actually face up and deal with now, and that's scary, but I need to do it. You've got the worm. The worm deal with lots of subconscious things in Adventure Time. He often shows up in dreams. Yeah, so that's like your subconscious leanings, your subconscious urges. I guess ultimately the fact that you know what you need to do, or you know what's right, but you're struggling to follow through on that, or to see that through all the confusion because you're just low on energy and low on enthusiasm. And then you have pig. So this is a zodiac marker for anyone born in the year of the pig, but it's also, he's a bit of a creepy character, to be honest, the pig. As you can see, he's got this really starey energy, and he's quite an ambivalent character in Adventure Time. But the way he's looking at me right now is making me focus solely on that. So like this kind of zombie attitude, like where you're just trying to put one foot in front of the other and you can't see past that. It's almost like there's nothing else going on because you haven't got the capacity for it mentally. So it's trying to get out of that space where you're like a zombie and like you're frozen, and you can't think beyond your current situation, almost like trying to shake yourself out of that feeling, you know, and be like, I can't stay paralyzed like this because I need to make the right choices for myself, and I will really, really thank myself in the future if I'm able to do this. So whoever this best friend person is, or this supportive person, seek them out, ask them for help, tell them that you're really, really struggling to get yourself into the right motivation for this, see what help they can give you. You might be pleasantly surprised. Also schedule in this time for fun, because I think that's really going to help you build up your motivations and your enthusiasm and your energy ultimately, because that's what you're low on at the moment, is the energy. So this was your reading, you guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is a really, really interesting reading for me, and obviously I haven't done one of these general readings for a while now because I've been just doing private readings and Patreon readings. So it was interesting for me to get back into the swing of this, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, I want to apologize to anyone who was worried about me or thought that something had happened to me. Absolutely wasn't the case. I think because I thought that I was so active still on Etsy and on Patreon that people knew in general that I was fine. But I'm sorry for those of you that were just on YouTube and were worried about me because I wasn't updating. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope you're happy to hear from me. Glad that I'm back. I hope you've enjoyed this, even though it was a non-pick a card, but rather a this is your message reading. I think going forward, those are going to be the types of readings I'm going to be able to do with regards to my time constraints. Also because I want to still be offering the private readings on Etsy. I think that's really important. So that's also sort of eating into the time that I've got to do anything tarot related. So this is probably what I'm going to be doing moving forward. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a lovely rest of your day and a great October. Remember to ask for help. Remember to boost your enthusiasm, and take care, you guys, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.